Caroline, would you explain that you were also an exec producer on the show? What was your role in this particular episode?
Oh my God. I've been there from the start. A bit of everything, I think, is probably the answer. So we talked about the scripts. We found every Dalek in existence and brought them all to Cardiff Bay, which was quite an enterprise in itself. And yeah, just sort of seeing it through. I mean, we were literally signing off some of the CG shots yesterday. So it's been a long ride. I think we've been working on this one for about 9 months. But God, seeing it on the big screen makes it worth it.
Do you all still get excited when you see Daleks on set?
So I was on set the other day with Stephen, and he was standing between a Dalek and a weeping angel, and there was a moment where he sort of didn't know which to touch first. I've got a photo. Listen, I'm going to tweet this photo.
Between the angel and the Dalek, yeah? Okay, fine.
It's quite funny because they don't have the voices when you're working with them.
What?
Kind of
Briggsy comes in and he does the voices with the machine.
Kind of like relaxing, in between takes, and they're just in there chatting to each other about what they're doing in the evening. With real people voices.
Barney and Nick,
just having a natter.
who are a real-life couple as well, and they just love Doctor Who and the Daleks, and there's like a Dalek training camp. I mean, it's it's remarkable, and they're all going, guys, it's really hot, isn't it?
It's hot in here. I haven't had a wee all day. All right. And then it goes kind of like the cameras roll, and suddenly they're really aggressive.
When you're acting with them and they say the Daleks lines, are they said through some sort of effects box on set, or are they just speaking with their normal voice when you do the take?
Yeah.
No, it's through a voice changer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if Nick is on set, if he happens to be there, he'll sit with the microphone and actually do the voices. For
And they pan it through.
Yeah.
The thing.
Okay. Oh, we should mention as well that Stephen, the Daleks in this opening episode, if you look carefully, there are Daleks from, I think, all eras of Doctor Who.
From all eras of Doctor Who, that's true. Some of them are replicas, some of them are the originals. And there's one Dalek from Russell T Davies's Hallway. Actually heavily featured on the poster, over at the poster, is it poster left?
Front right.
Yeah.
Front right. It's kind of black and from the 70s, but it was...
Russell, before he was even Doctor Who showrunner, was just that kind of cool guy who got a Dalek made for himself so he could have it in the hallway to impress people, I don't know. But when people asked him, is it a real Dalek? He said, no, it's not, it's a replica. So when we were doing this, we just thought, let's get Russell's Dalek, let's ship it from Manchester and canonise it, make it a proper Dalek. So in future he can now say, yes, it is. It is a real Dalek. It has been returned with a slight scorching to Russell's hallway. I'm very, very pleased to say.
Let's talk about, obviously we're not going to talk about exactly how you guys exit, but in terms of just filming, tell us a bit about filming those final scenes on Doctor Who.
Pretty emotion-led.
Yeah.
Well, Karen wouldn't read the script for about a month, which was tricky because I'd read it and really wanted someone to talk to about it, and you just refused to read it.
I didn't want to make it real.
How long what was the gap between receiving the script and actually reading it?
I think it must have been a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, no, I really didn't want to make it real. But then I did, and...
But also, it's such a brilliant episode.
Yeah. I read some of the episode.
Yeah, just not that
Just
last bit.
not the ending.
Yeah.
And whereas presumably you had read it, so you're saying to him on the phone, don't tell me what happens. It was a period where he knew and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the very final scene when they sort of called cut for the final time, was that an emotional moment?
Well, we don't shoot in chronological order, so actually our last scene together, all three of us, was kind of a fairly insignificant one.
Well,
It's significant in some way.
it's actually not even in.
Did it not make the...
It's not even in episode 5. It's going to be in episode 4, the last
you were
scene we
going to
ever
say it
shoot.
got cut then. I was like, what?
Yeah, the whole last 20 minutes have been cut.
It was the three of us walking into the TARDIS.
It was the power of 3.
Oh, yeah.
The power of 3. It was
It
that
was lovely,
scene. It was
though.
like, it was really nice. And actually, I was just going through my phone the other day, and I've got loads of videos that day of that scene. Yeah, it was a bit. It was quite sad, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah,
so
I've got
sad.
those. Yeah, it's tragic.
Everyone was there. We all
Yeah,
showed it to you.
everyone came
Yeah.
down.
Did they?
And we did like 20 takes as well, didn't we? Literally,
Keep it going.
many
take
takes,
10.
I was like,
Finishing early.
Come on, let them go home. Yeah, because we wanted to get to the rap party.
Stephen, with the reason I suppose to bring in a new companion is because traditionally is that a typical amount of time that doctors have companions for, the amount of time that Karen's been
Well, actually, Karen and Arthur have been in Doctor Who longer than any of the other new series companions. But I suppose on average in the old show, 3 would be a lot of years for the companions. I mean, most of the Doctors didn't last more than 3, so it was, yeah.
Do you find, in terms of writing the programme, where you are essentially writing a show with limitless scope, I imagine it's a lot of fun. Is it also quite stressful in the sense that you don't have parameters? You can just go anywhere and do anything with this premise?
It's extremely hard work rather than stressful, because in most shows, people could just have a chat for a while. They could just, in just any other show I've ever written, you could say, well, they could just have a chat and the plot will sort of slowly evolve. Doctor Who, you've got, a very small number of regular characters, and they've got to walk out the door into a completely new world, whatever that is. So, you're on your mettle. You are working all the time. Everything has to be described and catalogued and all that. So it's tremendously hard work. But I'm never going to say it's daunting or stressful, because it is far too much fun to be in this position to call it that. Because I love this show. I absolutely adore it. And if I didn't, I would leave instantly, if I ever didn't, because it is far too much hard work if you don't love it. But, it's an incredible show to work on, and an incredible scope to work through.
Do you prefer this or Sherlock?
Actually, by a remarkable effort of will, I am able to like each of them better than the other. I know people are astonished by that, but I do actually prefer them to each other. It's amazing. And I actually think scientifically with maths, they are actually better than each other. What a piece of luck.
Oh, well done. Do you still have to challenge yourself as a writer when you're coming up with the new programmes? Are you constantly trying to look back at what you did in the past and better what you've written before?
Well, obviously, every single time, I speak for every single writer who works in Doctor Who, you actually want to think, as you sit down, this is the episode that really counts.
Yeah.
We've just been passing the time till now. This is the one that changes everything. You've got to think that. It's always got to be that size.
Is there anything from the last series that you have dropped that we won't be seeing?
Well, I suppose in effect lots of things, because we try and do new stuff all the time. I suppose the one thing we don't have this year is any two-parters. There aren't.
And why is that?
I looked into it, and by which I mean I asked Marcus, does it actually save us any money to do a two-parter? And the answer was no, it doesn't. And it's better to have a first night than a second night. My little boys always get cross when it's a two-part Doctor Who. The other thing was, I thought, I haven't got a rule against them. What I said was, if we are working on a script and it suddenly becomes clear it needs to be a two-parter, that's where a two-parter comes from, not from saying we will allocate 2 episodes here. We wanted big, movie-sized ideas, brand new every single week. So I suppose that's the thing that's new.
Caroline, I think you look after some of the Doctor Who stuff outside of what happens on screen as well, don't you? So there's Doctor Who live shows. And in America, I think, am I right in saying is it the most downloaded TV show in America? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It certainly was last year. It's amazing. But, when we were over there shooting in New York recently, we had kind of an even bigger reaction in a strange way than we got in Comic-Con, because we were literally sort of shooting on the streets, and the guys who were our fixers over there did Sex and the City, and they'd done some Julia Roberts films recently, NYPD, and literally the number of people who were out there. So we started one day, we were shooting in Central Park, and in the morning, we started fairly early. There were about 20, 30 people. I go off, read a script, come back, there's 100. And kind of every hour, it just grew and grew and grew. And the reaction was just phenomenal. And they're going, you're bigger than Carrie Bradshaw over here. You're bigger than Julia Roberts. And you're kind of like, wow. It was just, that was incredible, because it was the general public as well as just the sci-fi fans. It was really cool.
Matt, I hear that you've signed to 2014. Is that correct?
Well, I hear this as well. Kind of people kept telling me this, but I haven't signed a thing. I was always going to...
He has. He didn't understand what he was signing.
50
years.
But that was all signed years ago, and it was always... I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to leave Doctor Who when it's in its biggest year ever, and I love making.
It's
the
always
show.
in its biggest year ever, Matt. You see your problem.
But it's his birthday.
Yeah.
There'll be a party and
50's
stuff.
not a big deal. That's quite a small.
Well, yeah. It says the bitter 50-year-old. No. And it's it's going to be exciting next year. I can't wait. And
But the stuff we've all read in the papers then about you signing in 2014 isn't actually true.
It just sounds like you've signed something else, when in fact I was always going to be around. You know, there was never any plan for me not to be around next year.
Is there anything planned for sort of outside what happens on screen to celebrate the 50th of Doctor Who?
Not planned in a kind of pinned down way at the moment. There are lots of huge ideas flying around, and I think, you know, there'll be live events, that's for sure. We've done quite a few proms. In the past, we took one to Melbourne earlier on in the year, and I think, you know, we really want to reach out and make it the biggest year for Doctor Who across the board. But I mean, you know, 2013 is going to be a big year before we even hit the 50th, because we've got another 8 episodes coming out in the spring. So that's sort of the big focus at the moment.
And now, it's split in two, is it, the series, Stephen? Is that what happens now? I remember there's some consternation amongst fans, wasn't there, about that? Is that how's it split now?
We do 5 in this run. We come back at Christmas for 1, and then later on we come back with 8.
And do you like that scheduling, or does that annoy you?
I think it's quite good if you get more first nights, if you get more Radio Times covers in a tarty way. I think that's useful. I think sometimes it's good to. Don't hate me any more than you already do, but sometimes making people wait is good. It builds up a sense of event. But you know, very often these things aren't in my control at all. I don't schedule BBC One. I ought to, clearly. I don't know what's going on with that, but I basically get told.
And the Christmas episode, are you making that at the moment?
Yes, right now. Yeah,
okay.
It's a heat wave. We must be making Christmas.
Night shoots.
Night shoots?
Yeah, we're all shooting till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Lots of snow, and it's all very Christmassy.
Is there anything, I mean, again, I hate asking this question. We've done a few Q&As. Is there anything you can tell? I know Richard E. Grant is in it. Is there anything else you can tell us about that episode? Or?
No. No, I mean, not really, is there? Just that it will be a big Christmassy extravaganza as per.
Oh, hang on. There might be an announcement here.
They're confirming.
Clearing something with Caroline.
Well, we've got Richard E. Grant as the villain, which is possibly the most perfect match you can imagine. Richard E. Grant as a villain in Doctor Who. How has it taken so long? And it is set in Victorian times, which is the best time, of course, to set something for Doctor Who, as you probably see from all the photographs that have leapt out of your screens.